Hey guys, I thought I'd do a quick video for those of you who didn't make our meeting last Wednesday. As you all know, we're looking at a season of getting to know people who don't come to St Max's or God-shaped questions, people who might be interested in exploring faith but haven't had an invitation and haven't had the chance to have some really good conversations about it. So, just to recap what we talked about last Wednesday, for those of you who didn't make it, we looked at an episode of Shameless, where you get some Jesus freaks coming into this estate with tambourines and guitars and really bad t-shirts, a guy in a white suit proclaiming that everybody should change their ways and come to know Jesus. That's not quite what we're doing, and we watched that as just a kind of parody of that sort of stuff that goes on. Telling other people about your faith can be a really frightening and scary thing, and I'm sure some of you have thought, this is another one of Ben's wacky ideas, let's just humour him and I'm sure it'll all pass within a couple of weeks. But the idea is if you think about your own journey, there will have been somebody that has allowed you to begin either exploring or thinking or deciding to go down this road of this journey of faith. And so all we're thinking about doing is being that person in somebody else's life. It's not about going and knocking on doors or doing things that are totally out of our comfort zones. In fact, it's the absolute opposite. The idea of these next few weeks is to spend time with people or spend time doing things that we already normally do. Nikki said in the last time we met that she does it anyway. She will talk to people about things that are good in her life, and for her, St Max's and her faith journey is something that's really good, so she naturally talks about it, and that's all we're thinking about doing. There's a story in the Bible to help us think about that. Many of you may know the story of David and Goliath, the little boy who went to fight the giant. The odds were impossible, they were never going to work out, but that's the great idea of the story, is that when the odds are stacked against us, if we've got God on our side, things can work out great. But as David begins to explore this idea of going to fight this giant, he goes to the king and says, I'll fight him for you. If nobody else is going to fight him, I'll stand up for the whole of Israel. So the king, a guy named Saul, says, okay, no problem, you go for it, but here, take my armour with you. And so he drapes this little teenage boy in all his magnificent, glorious armour. He's got the helmet and the shield and the sword and all the rest of it, and David kind of stands there with his stuff dripping off him, not being able to move, going, it ain't gonna happen. So he takes all the armour off and says, look, I've got everything that I need. Everything that I need to beat this man is in who I am and who God is. And so he goes out and he uses his little sling catapult thing and he knocks Goliath, this huge giant, to the ground and then chops his head off. And basically the idea of that story is we don't have to go out of our way and use sales techniques or do things that we wouldn't normally do in order to share our faith. St Francis once said, go out and preach the gospel, and if you have to, use words. It's about putting ourselves in situations where we can be useful for God. It's about finding things to do for other people. It's about doing small acts of random kindness for the sake of God and His kingdom. And I'm sure that if we put our energies and efforts into this, there will be times where we have to step out of our comfort zone. But let me tell you, I know from my experience, that's where I found God. There's another story in the Bible about a man named Jacob, and he's literally travelling along the road, and he lays down one night and goes to sleep. And as he sleeps, he has this dream, and in this dream there is a ladder, and on this ladder there are angels going up and down to heaven. And he wakes up in the morning and he has this amazing realisation that he didn't know that God was in that place. And so he has this kind of epiphany, this moment in his faith journey when he realises that sometimes God is in the places where we never expect to find him. And so my prayer and my hope for us as a community over the next few weeks is that if we dare to risk who we are and what we do in order to engage other people and to engage God, we will find God in new ways, in ways we never expected to find him. And my prayer is not only that other people come to faith, but that you, members of our own community, may find a depth to your faith that you never knew existed. So please, do think about what you're going to spend your Wednesday nights doing. Do think about the people that you might spend it with. But more than anything, go out and take a risk. Because the great news about the story of God is that he is willing to risk everything for you. Grace and peace.